So my name's Ellie Sturrock and I work in the NHS. I'm an area lead in a team called Steps to Wellbeing, and we offer free psychological treatments for mild and moderate anxiety and low mood disorders. And part of that is offering mindfulness, and it was from offering mindfulness in the NHS that we then linked with Dorset Council and Annie. And from that, Annie and I got together with people like Ali Ruddle, who's here. And this offer is a mindfulness-based piece offered to everybody working in health and social care in Dorset. So it's a little bit of a pathway into who I am and why I'm here.
Hi, so I'm Annie Comben-Lindsey. I always laughingly call it the day job, which is in children's services for Dorset Council. But I have been involved with mindfulness for well over a decade now, and also fairly recent history became an accredited mindfulness practitioner and was lucky to get involved at the beginning of the Dorset Council's mindfulness offer. I'm just spotting on the chat, totally up to you. Ellie and I are pretty relaxed about cameras. We just want people to feel relaxed and enjoy a bit of time out. So if you'd like yours off, put it off. If you're happy to keep it on, keep it on. We're really fairly ambivalent either way. So whatever is good for you guys. So we'll keep ours on so you know we've not left the building and we're still here though, but because that's always good, especially when we sometimes have technical difficulties. So yeah, so being involved with the mindfulness offer, my role in children's services has changed in fairly recent history. A lot of partnership working, which by itself can be complicated, but more recently I manage a team that re-engage young people that are outside of employment, education and training. So and like I say, been involved with the Dorset Council's mindfulness offer since 2019, and that's evolved to become really closely linked with the Here for Each Other offer that developed through our Dorset. So, but I think the thing we both bring is that we work in public services, and that's a really good context for very, very passionate about mindfulness being for real people, for real lives. No need to have a Zen life that's Instagrammable perfect. Haven't got one of those. I'm broadcasting from my spare room, and luckily it's on blur in my background. You can't see all the stuff because I'm about to send a daughter away to uni. So yeah, real people, real lives. Not neat, not tidy, not Instagrammable generally. So yes. So Ellie, we are 12:06, so I think we've probably got who we've got. So shall we make a start?
Yeah, so this session is called Maximising Your Abilities, and as a sort of underlining a theme, the what of that is how we can get out of our own way and to recognise some of our patterns and traits of thinking that might halt us, might minimise our abilities. So we're going to start by taking a moment to simply be quiet. And my recommendation, my invitation to you would be to close your eyes and to uncross your legs and to readjust yourself in your seat, because we spend a lot of time hunched over a computer, tapping away, and we forget ourselves. So in this moment, close your eyes. Take your eyes away from the screen and the office or the mess in your back bedroom, and simply sit. Nothing to do, nothing to think about, but thoughts and experiences such as sounds, feelings in the body, movements of emotion and thoughts will arise. So we're just stopping and noticing, what is this? What is here right now? Noticing, God, I haven't been for a pee all morning. I'm desperate for a drink. My shoulders are aching. In our dedication to our work, we sometimes forget to look at ourselves. And when we stop and take notice, we give ourselves an opportunity to take action, to do something, to refuel. So just in a few moments of quiet, being able to just stop and take notice of what is here for you in this moment. What's here? What is this? Okay. So, without needing to rush to do anything, I'm going to open my eyes now. And here we are at the beginning of this session. But even now, if it's possible for you maybe to put a jumper on or take a jumper off or reach for a drink that you've got on your desk, here's an opportunity to maximize something that might be of benefit to you. And if not now, then after this session has ended, or even maybe later in the day. Great. Okay, I hand over to Annie for a lovely little bit of video.
I am going to, hopefully, I've got myself all teed up and I am going to be just sharing my screen. And, oh, Ellie, the thing I have forgotten to do is to make sure before I do that, that I am sharing the sound as well, which is the vital bit. So,
but also I think it's the mindfulness one is a superpower.
It is. No, I've got that teed up,
okay.
But I'm just wanting to make sure that I think when I share it, it requires me stop sharing. Okay, right. When I do that, I need to make sure that I share the sound, and I have to switch that on. There we go. No one will ever accuse us of being slick.
One of the most rewarding
Wrong one, Annie.
for me has been to study brain science.
You are right. Apologies. Gotta shrink that in. Too many tabs. Here we go.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Stop sharing. Got there in the end. Always impressed when the tech works. Oh no, and now it's starting again.
You've gone on mute. Oh,
no, I've just put it off because it started to play again. So I've failed one vital step. So we'd quite like now to ask you just to think for a moment about what we're talking about maximising our abilities, but we'd like you to think about what minimises your abilities. And when I say that, I'm inviting you to consider what's going on internally rather than externally that makes it hard when we are under pressure, when we are meeting challenges. So what's the mental aspect, I guess, of what makes it difficult for us when we're facing challenges? So I'm going to open up in terms of the chat. If anybody wants to put something in the chat, or if you want to put your microphone on and say something that is difficult for you, but we're really asking you to think about what minimises your abilities. And I think I can hear Ellie typing, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to kick the ball off. Yeah, thank you. So
great. Oh yeah, really good comments coming in.
you beat me to it, Rebecca. I was just typing. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. And if you're still reflecting, then I would say, you know, just have a look at what people are putting in the chat. It's always like Christmas when you're waiting for the typing to come up. I can see the dots. So. And so far as I'm looking through this, it very much feels like it's perhaps our own thoughts about things, our own energy levels. Even giving ourselves a hard time about what we do or don't do. Some frustration, some anger in there for some people, as well as the doubt, the imposter syndrome. Yeah. Okay. So I suppose what we're inviting you to consider is, and doubt is something that's already been picked up, is that doubt is one thing that absolutely can minimize our abilities. It can impact on our ability to think and to function and to give ourselves time to reflect, I guess. And I know comparison is something I pulled up. I don't know if anybody else has mentioned that, but that's absolutely another of those. And a little bit of, somebody was saying about, just slumping and not using the time differently. So maybe a little bit of stuck in old patterns, the whole I can't do this or I shouldn't do that, or that whole commentary that perhaps some of us have running. There's a quote I quite like, and I think it's Oscar Wilde, Ellie, comparison is odious. That and I've also heard another one, and I don't know who it's attributed to, but comparison is the thief of joy, which I feel is very relevant for myself, certainly. Yeah, interesting. So Rebecca, everybody has to remember that no one really knows what they're doing, and most people feel, yeah, absolutely. What we perhaps got going on inside our head and the running commentary is quite possibly worlds away from what other people see as we pitch up with our work face on. So yeah. In terms of physical things that fit, the physical side of our internal being, I guess, in terms of what can minimize us. I know that somebody has said here being tired, levels of resilience. So I would say specifically, often we can be tired when we haven't had a break. Maybe we haven't nourished our body with rest, with sleep. Maybe a bit, Ellie alluded to earlier, might have been sat for a lot of the day and not moved, not stretched, not allowed our muscles to move a bit and then settle again. So all these things can minimize our ability. So very much would like to move into an exercise now where we're perhaps highlighting how we can get caught up into old patterns of or standard patterns of thinking and doing things that perhaps might not be all that useful. So I am again, Ellie, going to try and share my screen and get that get the correct PowerPoint up.
I'm sure you'll get there, but I'm ready with my very old.
Yeah, no, well, we're going to try and use the draw facility, which is a new one. So now I'm going to keep it in this mode so that I can draw, I think, because I'm not sure I'll be able to if I expand it to the whole screen. But okay. I think we'll keep it in that mode. I'm hoping that everybody can see it okay, but I can no longer see the chat. So I'm going to hand over to you, Ellie.
Yeah, great. So here we've got 9 dots on a page. And if you've got a bit of paper and a pen, then the invitation is to draw 9 dots in this arrangement on the piece of paper. And then take a pen or pencil and to draw 4 straight lines without lifting your pen or retracing any lines to connect all 9 dots. So just giving people a moment. If you haven't got a pen and a bit of paper, you can probably use an imaginary pen to look at the screen and see how possible it is and how you might go about achieving this instruction of joining the 9 dots by using 4 lines without lifting your pen. And as you do it, here is an opportunity to be observing what is going on in your mind about it. Oh, I can't be bothered, or oh, I'll never be able to do this. So watching out for where thoughts are coming in around this activity. If you've come across this before, that's great. See if you can do it again. I wasn't when I looked at it with Annie this morning. And has anybody been able to do that successfully? Feel free to speak out or do a wave or one of those hand signals, put your hand up if you've been able to do that. You might know this exercise. And an ability just to see what is going on. So what's happening up here with this question, with this invitation to do this? What's coming up? Always one missed. Yeah, great. Thanks, Sophie, for saying that. And then, so what comes up for you? Is there a sort of dialogue that goes along with it? Might be humorous, it might be self-doubt, judgment, might be irritation, frustrated, brilliant, yeah, great. Irritated, I can't do it. Intrigued, says Samantha. Sam, hi Sam. Yeah, great, okay. Annie, maybe, can you try and do the drawing bit of it? Fabulously wobbly. 2, 3, 4. Great. So 4 straight lines done without taking the cursor off the screen, if we were to imagine it being able to do that. And there's something, why do you think, brilliant, Sophie Forbes, that's lovely, we've got 2 Sophies online. Yeah, why, thought that it had to be a square. Yeah, what, I didn't realise you could cross them. Here's some stuff coming out about the way that we've achieved it, that we might have created a rule about the way to do it. I knew I had to go outside of the box and I was frustrated that I still couldn't do it. Great. And I love the way there's a heart. There's a sort of humour about it. There's a liftedness. But sometimes we can meet something. And I think there are two kind of outcomes to this that are worthy of considering a little more, reflecting on after here. One is what happens when we meet what seem to be intractable problems, and the fact that there can be something about, well, let's be very explicit, Sometimes we act within rules that, because we've always been given rules, we all work in quite rule-centric workplaces. We have protocols and policies. We are expected to do what we're told to do, but sometimes there can be space to act outside of those rules, to think outside of the box.
So what I used to like to call, in a former life when I worked in job centres, maxing the wiggle room and the red tape.
Nice. Yeah, lovely. And I've just been in a big meeting today with colleagues of mine talking about who we should see, and we had a very rigid tool that we used, and we used it and it caused loads of problems. And as time has gone on, we've had loads more discussions, and everybody is accepting that it's much better to be flexible in order to increase the people that we see. So it really seems to be playing itself out, and consequently, rather than staying within the parameters of the tool that we had, people didn't like it. They felt uncomfortable because we were discharging people. People are now feeling more relaxed because they're looking after people and not looking after the rule book. And so again, there might be something here about, when am I attending to rules that might be minimizing my abilities? Okay, so let's move on, because we've got a few different strategies, and it's nice to have enough time to cover them all.
Right, I'm going to expand this now so that you can hopefully see that. Is that okay? Everyone can see that?
Yeah,
all right?
Beautiful,
excellent.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we wanted to just introduce Paul Gilbert's piece of work on the 3 emotional systems, because and this is very much evidence-based, that it's helpful for us to have an awareness of our cognitive and emotional systems. So we have the drive system, and that can be really about when you're challenged in work, you're getting things done. It can be about being excited, something great happening. We have the threat system, and we touched on that a little bit with the things that people feel might minimize them, perhaps being frustrated, where there might be anger, there might be anxiety, fear, even that imposter syndrome perhaps. And then we have the soothe system, and you can see there, I'm not going to read them all out, but you can see that the hormones that are associated with each of those systems. And the research has shown that, although I would say that drive and threat system, when people talk about fight or flight, it's something that people really understand about our old brain and the way that our body works. A lot of people are pretty familiar with that, I would say. But I would wager that in Western culture, we don't really place particularly a huge amount of emphasis on the requirement for soothe. We need to endeavour to have a bit of a balance between all these 3 systems, and could almost be perceived, I would say certainly in the Western world, that soothe, it's like an optional extra. It's like a pink and fluffy bit that we might quite like to have, but actually the research has borne out that this isn't an optional extra that's would be nice if. It's actually as crucial to us being a healthy, balanced human being as the drive and the threat. Yes, the drive can help us get things done. It can help us learn and expand. The threat can keep us safe. But soothe is actually, it's a vital part of us living a really balanced life. So, and interestingly, some experiences or activities, they could be they could be either or. So, and the example I would say is that park run. Sometimes I do the park run, and sometimes it can be a real drive to run with other people, but actually, I would say sometimes when I feel like just running solo early morning, that might be more of a soothe thing for me. I'm doing the same activity, but I might just be doing it in a slightly different way. And it's meeting my needs of maybe soothe rather than drive that particular day, because that's what I feel is useful for me in terms of balance. So yeah, so I would be interested to know if people have come across this before, or have an awareness of the idea of the balance, that we need a bit of everything, that soothe, it's not all candles and bubble baths kind of thing. It's not, you know, but it is something that we all need to have this in our life to keep ourselves in balance. And I'm very aware, Ellie, that I can't see the chat, so I'm going to should I put that down?
Yeah, minimize that.
Put that down now.
May be useful as well. We can learn a lot from each other. Be really interested to hear, what do people do that give them enjoyment, which might be joy, entertainment, escape, but also might be soothing. So it's not a one thing or the other, it might be both. So what is it? And we might learn from each other. Yeah, great. We've got Katie coming in here. Soothing is essential to overcome sensory overload. Yeah,
absolutely. It's that antidote to. So I know earlier on in the chat when somebody said the things that minimise our ability is low resilience levels, then maybe if there's an awareness that is something going on for you, then maybe thinking about the activities that fall into the soothe camp.
Great.
Yeah, so walking. Yeah. And I always think friends is an interesting one, because sometimes friends can be a real soothe, they can be the balm of life, and sometimes they can add to our overwhelm or the demands on us.
Thanks for saying that, Sam. But yes, do have a look at Paul Gilbert. Yeah, and it's difficult to use the microphone, but the chat's really useful.
Yeah, chat is just as good. Thank you.
Yep. And part of the growing evidence, as the video at the beginning showed us, is that meditation and looking after the mind are really good ways to reduce threat. And there are two things here. So there was a program on the radio, and it's Michael Mosley, Do Just One Thing. And one of the things that he did as a test, and comes with evidence base, is at times just to let the mind wander. And that means not always being in front of a computer, on your phone, looking at films, listening to music. It means letting your mind wander. So I'm thinking of Mandy, that when she's out walking, it's a really great opportunity where you're not doing anything active with the mind. And you'll probably all notice this yourselves, that when you just let the mind happen, sometimes a little crystallization of something pops up and you go, it's somebody's birthday, I really want to send a card. Or thinking, Annie and I are writing an article at the moment, and sometimes when I'm cycling back from work, I make a point of just allowing my mind to run and I sort of process the day. But sometimes out of the mud, a little bubble of something quite useful pops up. And I think, I really want to include that comment into the article. So a really useful thing to do is just let your mind wander. So being able, we love our social media, most of us, we like watching the television, but at time it can be good to just not be doing too much. Doesn't have to be for long periods of time, but just even as you're going from the office to the car, letting the mind wander. And then better than that is to meditate. So our next exercise now is a meditation, and I'm going to guide that with you. And in this meditation, there is an element about thinking and mind. So no big deal. Don't get worried by the word meditation. If something comes out, oh, meditation, mindfulness, so I've come over this, I've done this, it doesn't work. Or, oh yeah, I want to know more about this mindfulness. Doesn't matter. Just observing what's here. That actually is the point of mindfulness, is just to recognize what's going on. Because when we see what's going on, we then can act with greater wisdom. We take a little space, a little step away, we get out of our own way, and we can act with greater wisdom. So in the same way that we began our first practice together, when we were saying, what is this? Here's an opportunity, tune in. How are you? I'm just going to stand up. My bottom's feeling a bit flat. So I'm going to sit down, readjust myself. Sam, I'm looking forward to you doing that. I'm whacking your bottom if you're feeling like you've got a flat bottom in your open plan office. And I would say have your feet flat on the floor if you can, and having your hands in your lap, but they could equally be on your desk. And if you can, if you feel comfortable doing it, close your eyes. If you don't, again, no big deal. Just let your eyes rest on nothing in particular. And being here, just tuning in to where your body is supported by your chair, your feet on the ground. So bringing your awareness home to the body. Bringing it to the places where there is strongest sensation. Sensation of sitting. The hands resting against each other. Perhaps an awareness of a hair resting across your cheek, your eyes being closed. So just being here in this moment. And being aware of the landscape of mind. So just now tuning in, shining the spotlight of awareness into mind, the activity of mind. And initially, perhaps, tuning into the quality of mind. Is it rushing? Is it busy? Is it hankering after doing something? Is it time obsessed? Is it email obsessed? So the quality of mind, and then just lightly being aware of the content. So it might be shopping lists, who I'm seeing later, little bubbles of thought arise. And what we can tend to do is to pursue a thought. So to pursue, oh, if I'm going shopping for peanut butter, what else can I get while I'm there? And here in this practice, in this exercise, we are sitting in a more observational place. So as though the mind is the theatre and the stage is the place where thoughts occur. Characters come onto the stage and thoughts come into the mind. It's what happens. It's what happens in theatres. You can't have a theatre without actors. You can't have a mind without thoughts. And what we can tend to do without training is we just follow the character around. We get on the stage. We might be trying to get that character off the stage. I don't want to think about that disagreement I had yesterday. I don't want to think of all the things I need to do later, or, oh, I must get on stage and I must tell that thought what I want it to do. So here now, just as best we can, we put ourselves in a seat in the auditorium. Sitting and seeing thoughts arising, coming to the front, calling a few others in, dwelling at the side, peeping out from around the curtains. Perhaps noticing that the stage seems fairly bare. Well, that in itself is a thought that arrived on the bare stage, or the stage is bare. It's a thought just pops up. Analysing, observing, doing things that minds naturally do that are good, and there's nothing bad with it. But here we are in meditation, simply being aware of thoughts, perhaps noticing that as certain thoughts arise, it changes the tone of the lighting in the theatre. The feeling is changed. So we stay seated, we just observe. Oh, that thought. Ooh, the lighting went a bit purple there. Or went really yellow. So what is this mindscape? What is here? And for now, because I'm in this meditation, not needing to do anything with it. As best I can, just sitting and seeing. And we will all get drawn by thoughts. It's completely natural. just now what is here in the theatre of mind. Where am I in the theatre of mind? Noticing as best I can. And if I've got taken away, thinking about emails, thinking about the time, no big deal. It's what minds do. And in noticing, here we are in awareness once more. And now, just in the last few moments of this practice, the invitation is to bring that spotlight of awareness back home to the body. So coming back to being here in your chair, your feet on the ground, your back supported. If you choose to, you might want to come to an awareness of your breath. Choosing to give an anchor to our awareness, knowing that in doing so, we are maximizing our abilities. So bringing the end of this meditation of mind to a close, being able to open your eyes and maybe to just tune in to what do you need to do now. Stretch. You might be thinking, God, actually, she was right. I haven't been for a pee. Desperate. Haven't had a drink. I've drunk too much. Whatever. So coming back together. And I'd just be really intrigued to hear people's reflections. How are people thinking about this, feeling about this, reflecting on this? Where might this, is there an irritation about it, frustration, or an idea about taking this away in some way? Is Claire coming online? Hi, Claire. Great.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to say that for me, it's about resting my mind.
Okay.
And it's really working.
Great.
I think there's actually something about your voice that sends me. It's fantastic.
Might not be my voice.
I need to capture it because it's just, I think, the speed at which you talk as well is really just helping to relax, certainly my mind, and I'm sure my colleagues that are on the call today will be feeling the same. It's just feels very peaceful in this hectic world that we all live in and work in. So fantastic, enjoying every minute. Thank you so much.
That's really good to hear, and that's great. And maybe people are feeling the same way, but they might, they might not be. They might be thinking, God, her voice is awful. She's got a dreadful voice. Or I fell asleep. I got so tired I fell asleep. But there is something, and I think what you're touching on is exactly why we're here, and exactly why we're delivering these programs, because we get so busy that our busyness almost gets in the way of us being able to act in helpful ways, both for ourselves and for other people. There's so much going on. There's so much to do, so much distraction, that don't give that up. You know, I enjoy being a busy person. Annie and I are two of the busiest people I know, but that it's really useful to be able to see for ourselves whether by having a little bit of a mental break, it helps us to do more or maintain what we're doing, and to choose well what we're doing as well.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
I've just put one of my favourite quotes in the chat, and I'm just loving everybody's feedback, so thank you for that. But it's something that was said to me quite a while ago: thoughts are data, not directives, and that was revolutionary for me. Mark Williams has also spoke at a webinar I was on a year or two ago, where he said the mind is like an overexcited Labrador puppy, and it just keeps bringing you stuff that you might be interested in. And that's not really a problem, because the reason that we're able to, as human beings, be creative, be able to design stuff, invent things, think about new ways around old problems, is because our minds are able to do this. But equally, sometimes we another analogy I quite like of observing thoughts is that they're like cars on the road, and you can notice the colour of the car, what make it is, but you don't have to get in amongst it and play in the traffic. You can sit and observe. And I think being able to notice what you're thinking, it can really help to recharge a bit. It's not quite as exhausting as having to get in the car and make every journey. So
yeah, great. Thanks, Annie. Those really bring to life, I think, exactly what we're talking about, and also give people opportunities to use different metaphors. And just picking up, so we're doing this as a session in its own right, but we would really recommend for anybody who hasn't done so that they do a little bit more around mindfulness. And we have got tasters coming up, and a 4-session course that Annie and I are both running with another mindfulness teacher called Rob Gebke, and they are being run by Here for Each Other. I think, Annie, you're going to
try and put it in the chat, but we will also be sending out with the help of Alice, a resource list with a couple of little really short, we only do short videos, but really short videos that you might find useful following today's session. So there's quite a nice animation on the 3 circles, the threat drives, soothing systems, and there's also one about sustainers and drainers exercise, the exhaustion funnel, which they're really short YouTube clips, but they might be useful to you. And within that list, we also include the link that I've just popped in the chat, which takes you to the events page and the other courses that are available. So yeah, please check it out, because it's a really great offer that is being made across health and social care in Dorset. So
yeah. And we are able, I saw that Sam had written, can we do something together with you again? Yeah, we are looking into designing bespoke programs for teams. Annie and I delivered a mindfulness taster session to a group of anaesthetists, and it was an amazing thing to do. And I think we both had a little bit of judgment. Well, anaesthetists don't know us; they know a lot more than us. So actually, we're a bit nervous.
Imposter syndrome was alive and well that day, wasn't it, Ellie?
But they really did feel the need. They were as threatened and rushed and busy and affected by COVID, probably more than me in my job. So we can offer bespoke pieces of work, a single session for a lunchtime team meeting, or a longer piece of work. And if you can give us a bit of information about what are the pressures, then we can try and design something that suits you. So there is that on offer too. So we'll hang around at the end, but we're almost at 1 o'clock, and very, very happy to pick up any questions, comments. Thanks so much to everybody for your comments and just being here and listening and taking in, and take it away and question it more. Have a look at things. There can be resistance when we first meet something new. We can be a bit resistant to it, so that's good. That's really natural, and we want people to be resistant, and then to take it away and think about it a bit more, and either cast it out, this is not for me, or to think, well, maybe I should find out a bit more about it.
I've just put my email in the chat because I'm aware that I'm a guest on this platform, so you wouldn't be able to easily pick up my contact details if you did want to get in touch. But as we say, we're just going to hang on the line in case anyone does have any questions, but we appreciate we are 12:59 and you might well have other pressing things in your diary. So
like going
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, and thanks for coming along. That's great. Good to see people here.